All right. Now, this is not very pretty, so we're going to clean it up. I'm going to go to my edit patterning tool. And there's a few tools within this that I'm going to use. So if you hold down the left key, you see all of your choices for editing the pattern. General edits, transform point segment, edit curve point, edit curvature, smooth curve, add point split line. For now, we're mainly going to use the edit patterning tool, smooth curve, and possibly the add point, though I encourage you to play around with all of these so you can start to get a sense of what they can do. But just for starters, I want to smooth out some of my curves, like particularly this side front curve is really wonky. So I'm going to choose smooth curve, and it's going to tell you what to do. Click and drag point, or click and drag on a point segment. So I'm going to choose my first point, and it's going to say click on segment to create the reference line. I'm going to click on the second segment, select the side that will be replaced with the reference line. This is going to be replaced, and now click the reference line so you can change it to a curve, which is this gray line. Drag it. That's where I messed up. So then I can hold and drag it and change that curve however I want. I can change the curve down this way, but we just want a nice smooth curve, nothing crazy. There we go. I'm gonna do the same here, but for now I just want to work with the upper portion of this curve, so I'm going to choose the middle there, select that curve, and then I can start to mess around. That curve. I'm gonna do all my curves first, and then I'll come back and I'll start fixing the other things. I'm gonna choose my arm size, still a little wonky. So let's see what that does. And if you're just new to patterning, a lot of questions I get is like, how do I know if it's right? A lot of times it just comes with practice, and it comes with the more you do it, then you start to see like, oh, this looks right, this doesn't look right. I mean, really the question is it, I always say graceful curves. Graceful curves. All right, so we're better. It's just a lot of trial and error. All right. But I am not super happy, for example, with this point is veering awfully narrow on the body. So I want to drag it out. So I'm going to go back to this tool and choose my edit patterning tool. Then I can select the point itself, kind of move it out. I'm going to do the same over here. Move that point out and back. All right. I want this to be more straight. So I'm going to use shift and select all my points and delete them. There we go. It's a little straighter. But now this is looking awfully round. So we're going to change that curve again since I adjusted that bottom point. There we go, that's better. And we'll do the same here. All right, and on the straight lines like up here, if you know that you want it to be completely straight, I will delete any excess points in case there is anything funky with the point or it's accidental, it's curving in a way that you can't really see. So this is looking better. Still not perfect, but definitely better. Now I want to walk my pattern, just like you would on the table. And conveniently, Clo has a walking pattern tool. It's this little tool right here. Kind of looks like a pattern on its side, and it says walk pattern. So I'm going to choose that. And again, it's going to tell you what to do. It says click on point or segment. I'm going to choose the point or segment that I want to walk. And it says click on point or segment of the pattern to match. Choose that. Then I can walk it just like so. Make sure everything is lining up right. And I also can add a few notches. So I'm going to right click. I can choose to add a notch solely to the walked pattern, solely to the stationary pattern, both, or move walked pattern to this intersection. We'll do that in a second, but for now I just want to add a notch to both. See? Added a notch. And I can do it again here. And now I want to make sure the bottom is true. So I'm going to move my walked pattern to the intersection. All right, so again, if we were on paper, you could use your ruler, put one end here, and smooth this line out across two pieces. Clo doesn't have that feature. So if there is anybody from Clo who's watching this video, that would be an awesome feature to have if you could use the smooth curve tool across two pattern pieces. As of right now, it doesn't exist. So we're gonna have to do it pattern by pattern and do our best to eyeball it. So I'm doing very similar to what I did on the vertical seams, but they're not exactly the same length. So I'm gonna go to edit pattern. I can extend it. I could shorten it if I wanted to. Oops. It's getting better. Just quickly check this one. I'm gonna go to my walked patterning tool, add a notch. Gonna move the walked pattern so I can true up the bottom here. I'll true up the side seam here in a second. That's not looking too bad. A little bit of curve to it. Okay. And then I'm just going to double check my side seam. That's good. If they're slightly off. So I'm just going to zoom in here so I can get a nice precise length. I know this point is correct because it matches the back. I know this point is correct because I just moved it. It's going to give me a hard time. Okay. Just move that pattern away slightly so I can reach that point. Okay. Going to readjust my patterns. All right, not perfect, but not too bad for a first pass. It's also already sewn together for you when you use the flattening tool in the 3D window, and you essentially created your fabric from the lines that you drew. It also went ahead and sewed them together, so you can kind of see the sewing lines there. But right now, this is only half of a garment. Oh, I'm not happy with that neck. Down a little bit. There we go. There's a few ways you can go about this. I'm going to show you two. I'm going to show you the unfold method first. So I'm on my edit patterning tool. I'm going to click. I want it to the center front to be on the fold. I'm going to click my center front line, right click. You can unfold or you can unfold with symmetric editing. I'm going to choose unfold with symmetric editing. That way anything I do to, say, the right side of the piece, it will automatically also do to the left side. So my garment stays symmetrical. Great. So now this is on the fold. And now I want to clone each of these pieces. Again, there's a few ways to do this. I'm just going to show you one. Choose your transform patterning tool. I'm going to select the 3 pieces, right click, you get all these crazy options. Right now we're going to go under clone pattern with linked editing. We're going to choose symmetric pattern with sewing. Bam. And it also brought the sewing with it. So all the sewing that was already on these pieces is also here. All right. Now one tricky thing in Clo, and some of the foundational videos, which I suggested in the beginning, will go over this, but just to give you a quick review, if I hit the simulate button now, this side of the garment is not, his arm is not going to go through the armhole because it's not through the armhole now. So I'll show you what I mean. I'm going to simulate. And it's going to not, his arm's not going to go through and it's going to fall off the side. That's not helpful. So I'm going to turn simulation off. I'm going to undo what I just did. And one way to fix it is I'm going, oops, to move my patterns so that his arm is through the armhole. Again, several different ways to go about this, but for now this is just one. I'm just using the maneuver tools, trying to adjust that into place. All right, so now I'm going to simulate and it should work. There we go. But the back isn't sewn, so it's not giving me a true fit. So lastly, I'm going to sew that. You can either do it in the 2D window. You have your symmetric sewing tool here if you want to sew in 2D, or you can sew in 3D. I'm going to choose it in my 3D window. I'm going to select one side of center back and then another. And double check that all of your sewing lines look perpendicular and nice and pretty. If they're, sometimes it'll switch up your sewing lines, like twist them, and when that, if and when that happens, then let me see if I can show you what I mean. So sometimes when you sew for the first time, it'll look like this, which means that your sewing lines are twisted. And you just want to go to your edit sewing tool, right click, reverse sewing, or delete it and start again. But I was right the first time, so then I can simulate. Great. And let's see how this all looks. It's looking pretty good, but just for the sake of demonstration, I'm going to show you if I wanted to adjust the arm size, say here. Then I can go to my 3D pen garment. Think about this as your pencil in your fitting room. And you can draw on the garment if you would like to adjust it. Great. I'm going to go to my Edit 3D Pen, right click it, and I'm going, you can, again, you have several options here. I'm going to trace as internal shape, and it will show up on my pattern right there. And because these two patterns are symmetrically linked, it showed up on both the left and right. His arms actually isn't too bad, but just so I can demo, I'm just gonna change that curve, much like I did before. Just bring it in a smidge. Okay. And simulate, so you can double check. Great, and so then that's how you would get one way to get a very basic sloper, and probably the closest way that Clo can come to draping. I will do another video about drafting a pattern in Clo soon. I hope this was helpful, and please let me know your thoughts, and if you're enjoying these videos and if you think you might start incorporating this into your own work. I hope everyone has a great day, and thanks a lot.